Chuck Muncy is back in the lineup, coupling with Galbraith. This is Muncy. And he is caught at the line of scrimmage and really thrown back. Willie Harper, 59, and Cleveland Elam, 72.
Oh, look at that score. Miami 7, New England 3, and this is a key game in the AFC East. If Miami can beat New England, they'll only be one game behind the Colts. New England really needs that win.
Boy, did you get excited when they put a Miami score up there?
Darn tootin'. Hey, they paid my salary for many a year.
Second down 9. Saints at their 35-yard line, leading 7-0 on Tony Galbraith's 8-yard run up the middle. Bobby Douglas, who's been doing nothing but handing off, this time to Muncy, and Muncy is caught behind the line. Elam, number 72, blows through there to make the stop.
Now let's watch number 72, Cleveland Elam. He just takes the inside gap and shoots it, and just finds Muncy and says, hey, look at me. You're not going anywhere, man.
Now, you said a moment ago he had his 14th and a half sack. How do you get half a sack?
I think it's a help. I think if you get a hand on the man and he doesn't go down and someone else brings him down, they give you credit for a half a sack.
I got you.
Hey, a half a loaf is better than none, Frank.
That's true. Loss of 3 on the play. Third down, 13. Douglas still handing off. This time Muncy around the end to the 35. And really a very fine tackle coming up from the secondary by Mel Phillips, number 32. And the fans, of course, they didn't mind it at all when the Saints moved the ball right down the field on the ground, but now they fail to pick up the first down. Here a few boos drift down from above in the far reaches of the Superdome. Blanchard in to do the punting. He's punted twice for a 48-yard average. Leonard lets it bounce at the 30. It bounces inside the 20, takes a great Saint roll, and it will roll dead at about the 10-yard line. Well, you talk about getting everything out of the roll. Blanchard did there in that particular punt. CBS Sports brings you once again Celebrity Challenge of the Sexes. 22 television and movie stars going to take part in this competition, which you will see. That's a week from tonight, right? People like Farrah Fawcett, who will be playing tennis against Dick Van Patten of 8 is Enough. Susan St. James against David Cassidy in swimming. Bruce Jenner goes against Christy McNichol in skateboarding. Going to be a lot of fun. A week from tonight on CBS. First and 10, 49ers at their 10-yard line. Well, they get it out to about the 15 as Plunkett looked around and Williams went by. And Williams thought maybe he should have had it. And then he looked around to see it. And there's Plunkett, still got the football.
It looked like a play-action pass at first. Williams doesn't get the ball. Now watch him turn around and say, hey, where's the ball? And Plunkett says, hey, block someone, never mind. Then he takes a dive here, and that's a good place to be.
All right, 6-yard pickup on the play. May not have been planned that way, but it turned out all right. Second down, 4. Jackson driving for the first down across the 20-yard line. And riding Joe Fettersfield, number 58, and Jim Marcellus, number 40, with him. Another 6-yard pickup and a San Francisco first down. 4:20 left to play in the first half. Saints leading 7-0, and the Rams are putting it on the Packers and making Bart Starr's year just a little bit longer.
Well, they are having a tough year, Frank. After that first win down here against the Saints, they looked like a better ball club, but since then they've kind of folded.
First and 10, 49ers from their 22-yard line. They've blown a couple of opportunities, picking up fumbles in the Saints end of the field. Couldn't capitalize and get any points. Here's Williams. Run out of bounds. Really very close to the line of scrimmage. The guy that took the best shot on that was the cameraman on the sidelines as Williams ran over him. Dell Williams, better than 1,200 yards last year. Started off very slow. There's the 49er bench, and the man in the middle in the red jacket, of course, is Ken Meyer.
A concerned Ken Meyer.
And rightly so. Plunkett is still looking for his first pass completion with 3 minutes, 52 seconds left in the half. Second and 8. Ball is at the 23-yard line. Jackson. Play was whistled dead, I believe, before he fumbled at the 26. So the 49ers will retain possession. Joe Campbell, very quick, in the stop.
there's a trio of backs, Strawn, Muncy, and Galbraith, talking it over and saying, just get us the football back and we'll do something with it.
You know, Muncy wears those shatterproof glasses. I imagine on the field with a football helmet on, he's got to look like something out of Star Wars.
I know, but if you don't go to practice, you don't have to worry about those things.
That's true, right? You never could work a deal like that, could you?
I was a middle linebacker. I wasn't a star.
Third down and 6. 49ers from their 26. Williams on the sweep, got Woody Peoples out in front, but did not pick up nearly enough to get the first down as Jim Merlo, number 57, made the play. Merlo, by the way, is from California and very conscious of the fact that a lot of his friends and relatives are going to be looking in. I think he's in the fruit packaging business out there.
Yeah, Jim Merlo had a 57-yard interception for a touchdown against the Bears. Good linebacker. He was not a teammate of Plunkett's. He came after Jim.
With him to do the punting, and this is Rich Maudie, number 84, the deep man for the Saints, standing back in his 35. Woodham's punted 4 times for a 38-yard average. 10 men on the line of scrimmage for the Saints. Wide snap, but Woodham gets it away. Beautiful kick. He's driving Maudie all the way back to the 22-yard line. Here comes the rookie to the 25, looking for some running room. 49ers stringing him out, and when all is said and done, he picked up only 3 or 4 yards on the return to the 26. Ran an awful long way for those 4 yards. John Ayers, number 68, running him down. CBS Sports Spectacular next Saturday. A trio of events I think you're going to enjoy. The WBA Light Heavyweight Boxing Championship live from Milan, Italy. Victor Galindez and Eddie Gregory. And the Turf Classic, a 1.5-mile race for 3-year-olds and up. 3 top grass horses in the world are going to be running in that one. And the results of that race will probably decide the Turf Horse Champion of the Year. And the world's strongest men competition. 8 of the world's strongest men continue to compete. And this week's event will be the car lift. They'll be required to grab the rear bumper of a car and lift it straight off until both tires are off the ground, weighing something like 1,852 pounds. The timeout, very obviously, is to tend to the injured 49er, and that looks to be Kaz Banasak, number 79.
Frank, you know, the shame of that injury is that that block was made by Kim Jones, the reserve running back of the Saints, and it was really made after the play. I'm not saying it was a dirty play. He didn't see it. He was just trying to make a block to spring Maudie, and he hit him when Maudie was already down, and it looks like a very bad knee injury.
Let's bring you up to date on some other scores. Burt Jones has just scored on a 7-yard run, and the Colts are in front of the Bills in the third period, 31-13. Redskins and the Eagles 7-7 in the fourth, and I would think that Washington would have to pull that thing out, or they could kiss even wild card playoff hopes goodbye. They've still got some tough people to play. Fourth quarter, Giants lead Tampa Bay, and that would be Tampa Bay's 23rd consecutive loss.
Well, John McKay has really had his problems, but one thing I can say is that he will criticize his players.
Detroit and Atlanta. Anybody plays Atlanta, I'll tell you, has a tough time scoring points. And that's a 6-3 game, Detroit leading in the fourth period. Detroit's very much in contention in the NFC Central Division race. Doctor's still attending to Banasak, and it looks to be a knee.
Kaz Banasak was the veteran offensive tackle, and this year Keith Barnhorst replaced him. So he's been in reserve, and you hate to see a man who contributed so much to the San Francisco offense go down like this on a special team, and I just hope it's not that serious. Looks bad.
Other scores, third period. You talk about a wild race. That AFC Central is wild. Pittsburgh leading Cleveland 28-10. I think if things go right this weekend, all 4 teams could be tied for first place in that Central Division race. And Garo Yepremian, your old friend, has just knocked home a chip shot from 33 yards. And Miami leads New England 10-3.
He's had his problems all year long, Frank, and it's really good to see him come through in that situation.
Tie business bad or what?
He's out of the tie business now. He's in a hamburger stand or restaurant.
I see. Third period score, Seattle over the New York Jets, and that has got to be an eye-opener to some folks.
Well, that's the Richard Todd-less Jets.
That does make a difference.
Richard Todd is not playing quarterback, and they're going with a backup quarterback, and they're behind 14-0. Our
timeout continues here at the Superdome with 2 minutes and 12 seconds left to play in the first half. For those of you who joined us late, the Saints on their very first possession marched 59 yards in 13 plays, all of them on the ground, at climax by Mike Galbraith's 8-yard run off tackle. And that's been the only touchdown of the ball game. 49ers have had opportunities. They've recovered 2 fumbles in Saint territory, but they haven't been able to get a point across. Short field goal missed by Ray Wershing. Lou Grant. You remember Lou, don't you, from the Mary Tyler Moore Show? Well, he decides to investigate the competence of an eccentric judge and gets a surprise or two himself. Watch Edward Asner as Lou Grant, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Central at 10 o'clock Pacific time on CBS. And again, the reminder about Rafferty. That's a show that will be coming your way tomorrow night. What are you giggling about?
I think Rafferty needs Superman to help him out.
I think so. The problems that he's got. He's got a young girl starving herself to death, a cop walking around with a bullet in his back, and a medical colleague who may be psychotic. And you think you got problems? You watch Rafferty tomorrow night, and you feel you won't have any problems at all. You'll see if he can pull enough miracles out of his medical bag to solve all of these problems. Crowd of around 50,000 in attendance here at the Superdome. This place holds close to 80, as you know, and they could actually take the Houston Astrodome and place it inside of here. Put the whole thing underneath the roof. Vanasek gets a nice hand. I think they're immobilizing that knee. They have that inflatable deal where they can make it cold to reduce the swelling.
Oh, he's in agonizing pain, and for his family back in San Francisco, all we can say is that he's been a great contribution to the San Francisco offense, and we sure hate to see this happen to him.
Well, I'm sure it's smart. It looks like he's all right, though. I mean, all right from the standpoint of as all right as you can be with a knee injury. Obviously, you're now watching a passing game this afternoon. It's been done on the ground so far. The Saints with 96 yards rushing, and the 49ers have 54. And as far as the passing goes, San Francisco is 16 yards in the hole passing, and the Saints are -8. Now, in case you've forgotten, as we head back to play, the Saints have the football and a first down following the punt at their 27-yard line. Tony Galbraith taking the handoff, trying the left side, getting out to the 30-yard line. Front 4 caves that play in after a pickup of 3 yards. It'll be 2nd down 7, and now we run the clock down to the 2-minute warning. That's where we're at. And both benches will get the official word that there are 2 minutes left to play in the first half at the Superdome in New Orleans, with the Saints leading the 49ers by a score of 7-0. Frank Lieber along with Nick Bonacante back at the Superdome. As we head back to play, Saints have the football. They'll have a 2nd down 7 with the ball at their 30-yard line. The Atlanta defense has just scored on Atlanta. 14-yard fumble recovery and a run by Ralph Ortega. And Atlanta has jumped out in front of Detroit 10-6 with 8 minutes left to play.
Ralph Ortega, the former University of Florida great, playing middle linebacker now for the Falcons, doing a good job.
And Kansas City is in front of the Bears 17-0 in the second quarter. Bobby Douglas, who has thrown one pass here in the first half, handing off to Chuck Muncie, and Muncie is creamed at the line of scrimmage. Mel Phillips and Willie Harper on the stop. And we're still getting some scattered boos about the conservative play calling here of the Saints, who have elected to make this a ground game. Preliminary report from the bench is that Vanasek may have a broken right leg. So it's more than a knee injury. 3rd down 7. Douglas back to throw it, chased by Elam, and runs out of bounds after picking up maybe a yard. Got back, well, let's see. They say he ran out at about the 28, and that being the case, he'd lost a yard or so in the play.
Now, is that considered a sack, Frank, or is that just a quarterback run?
I would think that'd be rushing yardage lost. I don't think you can sack a guy unless you get your hands on him.
Well, it seems kind of unfair. Elam had him on the run and ran him out of bounds.
That's because you played defense. That's why it's unfair.
I would give him a sack.
Tony Leonard is deep, standing on the 30-yard line. Blanchard fielding the low snap, gets it away. Leonard will return it from the 35. A lot of black shirts, and he's got no choice there but to go out of bounds about where he caught the ball. And he get right down to it, about the 35-yard line. 39 yards on the punt. And Leonard popped pretty good and is limping back across the field to the 49er bench. 7-0 Saints with 1:13 left to play in the first half.
God, Leonard looked up and he saw all those black shirts. It looked like a cowboy movie.
All the bad guys coming
All the bad guys coming down at him.
First and 10, 49ers at their 34. Plunkett still looking for his first pass completion. There, whoop, thought he had it for a moment. Harrison had it and dropped it at the 45-yard line. It would have been a tough catch, but I think it was a catchable ball, and Plunkett is 0 for 10.
Well, 0 for 10, but Plunkett's had 3 or 4 balls dropped, Frank, and here he puts the ball right on the money. Should have been caught. Harrison in good position. Ernie Jackson comes over and strips him of the football, but it should have been a reception.
Well, you can't hang that on Plunkett, but keep in mind that this New Orleans defense is rated 14th and last in the NFC, and the 49ers just haven't been able to do that much. Second and 10. Plunkett, big rush by Campbell in the sack at the 25-yard line. Campbell, number 73, was in there and got help from Elois Grooms, number 78.
Plunkett really gets lowered here. He gets leveled by Elois Grooms, number 78, as he comes in from the upper part of the screen and really drills him. And then Campbell delivers the final blow, sacking Plunkett. So it brings up a 3rd down and 20 situation. And, you know, when the defense knows that you're passing, they just tee off.
That's the 3rd sack by the Saints defensive line. 3rd down and 20. 49ers back at their 25. Clock ticking away the final seconds of the first half as Williams is stopped at the 25. And I would think the Saints are going to call timeout here.
I would think so. I don't see it.
I would think they'd want to stop the clear. Now they're going to do it, to stop the clock and force the 49ers to punt and hopefully get into shape for a couple of plays themselves, which could lead to a field goal. They must have wasted a good 15 seconds there.
I didn't know that you were a head coach, Frank.
Well, you know, you've been up here for a few years.
Now, that was the obvious decision with the call of timeout.
5 punts so far by Woodham, and he's averaged 41.2, which is well above his season average. Don't forget, stick around at halftime, and we will recap all of the scores for you. Highlights and the whole thing. We're at the Superdome in New Orleans. San Francisco 49ers and the New Orleans Saints. And the 49ers need this one bad to keep going. This would be their 4th victory in a row after a disastrous start, which saw them lose their first 5 games of the season. Looked like they were completely out of it. And lo and behold, right now they're just 2 games out of first place. And they catch the Rams at Candlestick Park next Sunday.
I don't know. Here comes Tom Woodham with some instructions from Ken Myers. Instructions being, don't block the punt.
10 men at the line of scrimmage for the Saints. They're going to come. 1 man deep, and that is Marty. Woodham motioning to his right. Here comes the rush. He got it away, but had a line drive it, and Marty will return from his 35. Marty to the 40, 45. Marty to midfield to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 30. Woodham was the only man with a shot at him. Marty scores! He got a penalty marker back at the 40-yard line. There is a flag down at the 40. So bring it back. Well, Marty is just realizing that there is a flag back there now. Last time the Saints returned a punt for a touchdown was 1968. You can believe that.
Few and far between.
It was a clip. Let's see if we can pick up the clip here.
It's number 89, Len Willis, the second-year man out of Ohio State right there, who clips. And I feel bad for Rich Marty because a free agent out of Penn State, you don't get too many opportunities like this. It's a big break for the 49ers. And instead of having a touchdown, 15 yards. 89, Len Willis is the man at fault.
Well, it's a terrible break for the Saints and a huge break for the 49ers. Just 10 seconds left to play in the first half, and Marty obviously has to be very disappointed. He's going to be given a rest here. James Stockton, normally a tight end, is now in at wide receiver. Galbraith on the handoff, and that should do it as far as the first half is concerned. There's the gun. So the half ends with the Saints leading the 49ers 7-0 in the most exciting play of the first half, coming down to the final 25 seconds, and it is called back as Marty has a 60-yard punt return for a touchdown, wiped out by the clipping penalty against Len Willis. But from the 49ers standpoint, that's got to be a huge break for him.
Well, you know, when things are going bad for you, like the Saints, 2-6 on the season and really needing a win, they've had 2 fumbles. They've had a punt return call back. So the old adage, when things are going bad, they really go bad. And that was evidenced by Marty's touchdown being called back.
Each week you wonder, you know, which are the real New Orleans Saints? Team that beat the Rams 2 weeks ago, or the team that went up to Philadelphia last week, and last week were beaten soundly by the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 28-7. And I guess that's been the mark of this young team, has been its great inconsistency, and they played strong defense.
Well, Hank Stram really likes Bobby Scott as the quarterback. He won't come out and say Bobby Scott should be his #1 quarterback, but he likes him. He's gutty, he's spunky, he can run the ball club probably a little better than Archie Manning. Archie Manning has really, for 2 years, has only played in 4 games for Hank Stram. He's been injured with a shoulder injury. Then this year he sprained an ankle, and it looked like he would only be out for 2 games, and it turned around he's been out for 4 games. And then you come back to Bobby Scott, he hurts his thumb, and he's out now for the last 2 games, and now you're down to Bobby Douglas. And Bobby Douglas, having only thrown 10 passes this year, they decided they're not going to risk this game by having him put the ball in the air.
And he's not known really as a great passer himself, really.
No, actually, Bobby Douglas, I think, is the leading rusher as a quarterback in the National Football League. And his strength has always been to drop back. If his receiver is covered, to start to scramble and head upfield. Of course, he's a little older now than he was when he was playing with the Bears.
I tell you, back in 1972 it was, Bobby Douglas rushed for 968 yards in a single season. That's the most yards that any quarterback has ever rushed for in one season of play.
Now, Bobby Douglas has always been a threat. I often wondered if Bobby Douglas was in this position. I always thought that he should have been a tight end or a running back, because he was, he's such a great athlete. You see this happening really an awful lot with players throughout the league.
We'll be back with you in New Orleans shortly.
Plays. It's fun with a whole group, one-on-one, or even by yourself. Mr. Quarterback from Coleco.
Here's to good friends.
Here we go.
Tonight is kind of special.
Hey, we almost gave up and sent out for peace. Sorry. All I could get were lobsters and Lowenbrow. All I could get were lobsters and Lowenbrow. It's the last party of the summer. I figured I'd shoot the word.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
Well, like the song says, here's to good friends.
Mr. Highbloom. Mr. Highbloom.
Yes?
Yeah. We understand that you're taking a trip with us tomorrow.
Yes?
Yeah, well, we want you to know that Avis is working right now.
Avis?
It's vacuuming your car, checking the oil, brakes, even the air in the spare tire.
Spare tire.
One of the ways Avis tries harder is working at night, so you're ready in the morning. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's a Chrysler Cordoba, and it's blue. See you in the morning.
See you in the morning.
Mom, I'm going away for the weekend. Brenda.
Rhoda finally breaks the news to Mom, and she's a big girl now. Then Junior gets busted, and there's no breaking out.
Can't all go to Baxter, sweetheart. You want to see something pretty?
On Our Own, following Rhoda, tonight at 8, 7 Central and Mountain. Next Sunday, CBS Sports presents Celebrity Challenge of the Sexes. With 22 television and movie stars, an exciting head-to-head competition. That's next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern for Celebrity Challenge of the Sexes.
One of the best coaching jobs in pro football this year is being turned in by Don Shula. Last year, he suffered his first year as a losing coach. This afternoon, he's in charge of the New England Patriots 17-3. Let's get you up to date now on all the scores around the NFL. Detroit trailing Atlanta 10-6, and as Jimmy the Greek predicted, it was the Falcon defense that got their lone touchdown there in the fourth quarter. The New York Giants and Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers looking for their first victory. They've lost 22 straight. Not today. Washington and Philadelphia, a long run by Jaworski, set up the go-ahead touchdown. Eagles lead it by 7 points. Seattle and the New York Jets. Without Richard Todd, the Jets cannot get on track this afternoon. They trail Seattle by 17 in windswept Shea Stadium. Baltimore and Buffalo, 31-13, even though the Bills scored first, 2 touchdowns for Lydell Mitchell. And look at this. When the big chips are put up on the table, beware of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 35-10. Bradshaw has thrown for 3 scores in that game, 1 to Swan, 2 to Stallworth. Sipe knocked out, replaced by Mays. It's the second time this year Sipe has been knocked out. The score I told you about earlier, Miami leading New England 17-3. Nat Moore has caught his 6th touchdown pass of the season from quarterback Bob Greasy. Los Angeles, Green Bay. Bart Starr at halftime, many of you watching this game, and the lowly Packers trail the Rams by 17 points. San Francisco and New Orleans. The Saints are ahead at halftime. The rest of you are watching that contest. Unfortunately, Cass Banaszak, a tackle from San Francisco, suffered a broken leg in that game. Kansas City leading Chicago 17-0 is the score there. Walter Payton up over 1,000 yards for the contest, but I'm sure he would prefer to trade that in for a few points this afternoon. And Irv, St. Louis plays Dallas tomorrow night, and you've got a tribute to the spunky St. Louis Cardinals.
They got off to a slow start, but they're doing well now, Brent. You know, Don Coryell's St. Louis Cardinals got off to a dismal start this season, winning only one of their first 4 games. But now suddenly, the Cardinals look like a true superpower. The past 2 weeks, for example, they've demolished opponents by a combined score of 55-7. And in the words of vocalist Maureen McGovern, the Cardinals finally seem to have found their morning after.
The Atlanta defense has just scored again, Irv, so they have taken charge now of Detroit 17-6. Washington blocked the punt. They get a touchdown. They're setting up for the extra point. We'll tell you what happened on that as the NFL Today continues on CBS right after these messages from your local station.
Having lost out in the matrimonial derby herself, Joyce turns matchmaker on The Betty White Show tomorrow night on CBS.
Washington kicks the extra point, tied with Philadelphia at 14 in the fourth quarter. Cleveland scores again, but they trail Pittsburgh 35-17 in the fourth. Let's check in on some highlights now. Detroit and Atlanta. And sure, what a marvelous defensive unit that is.
Boy, they played defensively, very well defensively all year long, Brent. But let's get down to Tampa Bay, where they also have a pretty good defensive team, where the New York Giants lead that game in the fourth quarter by a score of 10-0. And they needed some mistakes by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get on the board early. Here's a snap that goes over the head of punter Dave Green, and number 70 there makes a play, Gary Jeter, setting up a touchdown opportunity for the Giants, and Bobby Hammond goes in and draws first blood, 7-0 for the Giants. This is a key play right here. It's a fourth down and yard and a fourth and goal to go on the 1. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go for the play, can't make it, and Brad Van Pelt made a great stop, and they lead right now 10-0 in the fourth quarter. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins are doing battle down in Veterans Stadium, and the score is all knotted 14-14 in the fourth quarter, and it's a real rock'em sock'em football game. And again, the Washington Redskins come up with a turnover early. Mike Thomas fumbles. Defensive back Herm Edwards makes a recovery, and right away, Ron Jaworski takes advantage of it by going up on top to his running back, Tommy Sullivan. Sullivan makes the catch, 21-yard touchdown pass. Eagles led 7-0. Joe Theismann tried to get back in the ball game in the third quarter, going to Gene Puget. Puget makes a nifty catch here. Number 84 rambles up to the Eagle 28-yard line, setting up another scoring opportunity for the Washington Redskins. Theismann to Frank Grant. Watch this feature here latch on, and the score is all knotted up. Philadelphia 7, Washington 7. The Eagles have the ball once again, second and 5 here in the fourth quarter. Ron Jaworski, taking a bootleg, does a great job here on a 44-yard run down to the 2-yard line, setting up a Ron Jaworski quarterback sneak. He just dives over the top. The Eagles take a temporary 14-7 lead, but Joe Theismann came back and threw a touchdown pass, and here's a blocked punt. The Redskins have been all year long and been doing a great job on special teams, and this is a touchdown pass right here from Theismann to Danny Buggs, who makes a good catch down here, and nuts the game in the fourth quarter, 14-14.
All right, Irv, and right now, let's send you back to Milwaukee and also New Orleans in the Superdome.
Thank you very much, Fred Musburger. We're awaiting the arrival of the two clubs prior to the start of the second half. The Saints leading San Francisco 7-0.
Dawn launch, Sea of Japan. The Navy. See your approval or call toll-free. It's not just a job, it's an adventure.
The Bell system recognizes that many seemingly unrelated business problems are really communications problems in disguise. So we've provided our account representatives with the skills and equipment they need to take a company's problems and our solutions to them and fit them together into a total communications system. For we firmly believe that in solving problems for companies like yours, the system is the solution.
Wherever you may roam, you'll find our name is known. You can trust a Delco. Thanks, Delco. Delco Freedom Battery. When things are getting thick and you want to start real quick, you can trust a Delco. Thanks, Delco. Delco Freedom Battery. They've got the stuff when the starting's tough. You can trust a Delco. Thanks, Delco. Delco Freedom Battery. Delco Freedom. Thanks, Delco.
Life is peculiar. Things can be going along just fine, and then suddenly they seem to get out of hand. Prepare for those unexpected moments in your life. Buy United States savings bonds through the payroll savings plan. You'll be insuring your future and your country's future as well. Take stock in America. Buy bonds.
I'm Bart Starr of the Green Bay Packers. You've heard other coaches talk about getting off to a good start, and they're correct. The right start is half the battle. Make sure your kids develop good exercise habits and learn sports skills early in life. If they do, chances are they'll lead healthier, happier, more active lives. So insist that your school has a good physical fitness and sports program. For a free pamphlet, write Fitness, Washington, D.C. 20201.
Here's a quick look at the halftime stats. You're supposed to look at the numbers, Nick, not the
I'm sorry. I think the most important stat there is minus 26 yards passing for the 49ers and minus 10 yards passing for the Saints. It's been all on the ground.
All right, here we go. Second half of play, Saints leading 7-0. Zarro ready to kick off. That's the whistle from the referee, Chuck Haberling, and here we go. Hofer is deep for the 49ers. Paul Hofer at the 6-yard line. Back to the 10, 15, 20, 25. Hofer, hard man to bring down, finally is dragged down at the 35-yard line. 49ers, in case you joined us late, had two fine opportunities in the first half as they recovered fumbles in Saints territory, but came up dry on both occasions, got nothing out of it. Here's our first final score. Atlanta's defense scored twice in the second half, and they beat the Lions 17-6. First and 10. 49ers at their 35. Let's see if that offense comes alive at all in the second half of play. Plunkett finally got him a pass completion to Dell Williams, 45, and Williams to the 49-yard line for a pickup of 14 yards. So there's Plunkett's first pass completion of the day. He was 0 for 10 in the first half.
Again, this is a play-action pass to Wilbur Jackson, meaning he fakes to him, and he just looks for Williams, who circles out of the backfield, wide open out there. Linebacker must have missed his coverage, and he beats it back to the inside and picks up the first down. That first completion, the sideline is very happy.
49ers at their 49-yard line with a first down. Jackson, first throw, giant hole up the middle, and is inside the Saints' 40-yard line. Finally dropped at the 38, a pickup of 13 yards.
Out there, that's great blocking by that offensive line. Randy Cross, Woody Peoples, and Steve Lawson create that hole. Good block by Lawson. And Jackson just steams up the middle and gets the first down. Good run, good blocking.
Willie McGee, number 81, has come in at wide receiver, replacing Harrison, who had a rough first half. Washington in the slot off to the right. First and 10. 49ers at the Saint 38, and they're moving. Williams inside the 35 to the 34-yard line. Alex Price, number 75, makes the stop. For the black-shirted New Orleans Saints, a pickup of 5. It'll be 2nd and 5 for the 49ers at the Saint 33.
Good block that time by number 69, Woody Peoples on 74. Derlin Moore created that gap.
49ers have won the last 6 games in this series. Last time the Saints won was back in 1973. I don't know what they did at halftime, but they've come out like gangbusters here to start the second half. That's Willie McGee in motion across the backfield. And off to Jackson. Jackson fighting off several tacklers and spins inside the 30 to the 27, and he is very close for another San Francisco first down.
Derlin Moore happens to be a very popular man. That's the second time that Jackson ran in his area, and Moore had his hands on him, lost him, and Jackson, I believe, may have picked up the first down.
They bring in the change from the far side. Jackson is 44 yards rushing and 8 carries. Dell Williams has 22 in 9 carries.
It is a first down for the 49ers. Frank, you know, it's a little unusual, the statistics so far for Plunkett, because in the last 3 games, Plunkett has thrown 44 times, completing 25 of them. So going 0 for 10 or 0 for 11 in the first half is not characteristic of Plunkett.
That is the 3rd first down in this drive by the 49ers, which has now reached the 28-yard line of the New Orleans Saints. Saints leading 7-0 early in the 3rd period. Plunkett fakes to Williams, back to throw it, pumps it once, lets it fly over the middle, intended for Willie McGee. And incomplete down to the 10-yard line. He was surrounded by black shirts, and he's talking to the officials, saying that, man, he helped me up a little bit.
Well, that's the old story. What the Saints have been doing all day long is hitting the receivers before Plunkett releases the football. So when Plunkett is looking for the receiver, he sees him being jammed. So he holds it, and therefore really creating a problem for the offense.
Defense, of course, gets that one free shot at the receiver. They can jam him one time, but before the ball is in the air. They've done an excellent job, as Nick has noted. 2nd and 10. Plunkett back to throw, blitz is on, gets it away, and is complete. Down to the 18-yard line to Willie McGee, and that's a first down. Make it the 14-yard line. And that will be a San Francisco first down at the Saints 14.
Plunkett is going all the way to McGee here. Now watch number 57, Merlot for the Saints. Watch the ball just get over his hand. Just deflected a little bit. McGee made the catch, and it's a first down. A big, big play for the 49ers. Merlot saying, if I let my fingernails grow a little bit more, I would have tipped it.
McGee is a 5-year man. You think they put him in because Harrison had kind of shaky first half, youngster and all?
Well, he only dropped 3 passes.
That's a kind of shaky first half, isn't it? First down, 49ers at the Saints 14-yard line. This drive started back at the 35 with the opening kickoff of the second half. Jackson picks his way inside the 10. Jackson is down to the 6-yard line. Marcellus and Christ on the stop.
Big blocks by that offensive line again. Jackson is following Lawson and cuts back and follows Peoples. Finds the opening. Good moves, good run. Second down and 2 to go. I guess it's second down and 5 for a touchdown. Second down and 2 for a first down.
That's the case with the nose of the ball just outside the Saint 5-yard line. Jackson, number 40, Williams, number 24, behind Jim Plunkett. And the 49ers are rolling. Dell Williams scores standing up. Boy, did they make it look easy. Delvin Williams across from 5 yards out, and the 49ers are an extra point away from tying this football game up.
Watch number 71, Keith Farnhorse open the hole. Jackson leading the way, and Williams just trotting into the end zone. Big touchdown for the 49ers.
Hey, when you can go in untouched from the 5-yard line, you've got yourself quite a hole. Wersching to try to kick the extra point. Wersching missed a 24-yard field goal. Little chip shot in the first half, or this would be for the lead. That's good. So the 49ers and the Saints are tied with 11 minutes and 1 second left to play in the third period at the Superdome in New Orleans. San Francisco 7 and New Orleans 7.
This is how they do it in practice, Frank. This is the way they draw it up, and this is the way Williams ran it. Just following his block and into the end zone. Like a casual Sunday afternoon, John.
I tell you, that looks like practice without defense, right? Wersching ready to kick off. Rich Monty is deep along with Clarence Chapman. This will be Chapman at the 8-yard line. Back to the 15, 20, 25. And that's the end of the line for Mr. Chapman. Pretty good hit there. Paul Larson. The Wentz formed pretty well that time for the Saints.
Those guys don't get paid enough to go on that team. That's a suicide squad, both on kickoffs and kickoff returns, and there's a penalty on the play.
Personal foul against the 49ers on the kickoff. And that will add 15 to the Saints' return total and give them pretty good field position. Miami and New England now final, 17-5. New England got a safety right at the end.
Well,
number 54, first down.
Knowing Don Shula, what has happened is he probably had Greasy take a safety rather than get caught on the 1 or 2 yard line.
First and 10, Saints from their 42-yard line. This is their first offensive possession of the second half. See if they can keep it going. Douglas comes out throwing, surprisingly enough, and completes the pass to John Gilliam, number 41. And that's good for a first down at the 47-yard line of the San Francisco 49ers. Well, surprise.
Little play action pass here thrown to John Gilliam. Gilliam, who so far this year has caught 7 passes for 88 yards, make that number 8. Nice pattern, good pass by Douglas.
So the Saints cross him up. Douglas, who threw just 1 forward pass in the first half for -1, comes out throwing in the first play of the second half. Back to the ground game. Tony Galbraith, number 34, jammed at the line of scrimmage. Elam and Ed Gallagher, number 75, in on the stop. Maybe a yard. This is a fourth period score now. The Steelers 35, Cleveland 24. Browns making a slight comeback in that fourth period, but it may be too little and too late.
What a barn burner that is. You know, John Gilliam, so far, total yardage has 9,291 yards, which is third in the NFL for active players, behind O.J. Simpson and Carl Garrett.
Second down 9. Saints on the 46. We get a flag down. Muncie wants to throw it. He puts up a rainbow. Out of bounds. Penalty markers were down. Maybe the 49ers offside. Cleveland Elam looked like he got a little bit too good a jump that time. That is the call. San Francisco offside, which will move the ball down to the 42-yard line and set up 2nd and 5. 10 minutes, 3 seconds left to play in the third period. Score is tied at 7. We'll get the call here from the referee, Chuck Haberling.
Defense, 2nd down.
5 penalties for 40 yards against the 49ers so far. 2nd and 5 with the ball spotted at the 41 of San Francisco. Saints trying to slow down the 49er momentum as they came out tough with a touchdown drive after taking the second half kickoff. Muncie to the 39, Bruce Elia, number 55. The middle linebacker making the hit on the former University of California All-American. That's a final score. Tampa Bay goes down in flames for the 23rd straight time.
I don't know. Sometimes you wonder, Frank. You do. Be on that ball club and have to go out every week knowing you're going to get beat.
3rd down. Let's call it 3 for the first down. Saints at the 39 of San Francisco. Muncie trying to pick up the first, and it'll be close as he is shoved back after reaching the neighborhood of the 36-yard line. Again, Elia leading the charge, the middle linebacker, number 55.
Looks a little short from up here, Frank, but they're going to measure for it.
Well, if it is short, what do you do, Coach?
I go for the first down. No question about that. It's really just a little far to attempt a field goal.
Also, you give up that field position if you miss it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any decision here.
That's close.
There isn't any decision. It's a first down.
By a whisker. Ball at the 36-yard line of the 49ers. Kansas City leads the Bears 17-7. Walter Payton on a 14-yard run midway in the third period. Oh, I bet they are booing up in Chicago.
Let's watch Muncie on this play.
There's Muncie. Nice cutback to the 32-yard line. Pick up a 5. Skip Vanderbutt, number 52, filling the hole for the San Francisco 49ers.
They like Muncie from this I formation because they can get Galbraith out in front of him blocking. And he does a nice job cutting back here off Galbraith's block and picks up 5 or 6 yards. Make it 5 yards.
It'll be 2nd and 5. Saints at the 32 of San Francisco. These two clubs better get used to each other because they'll see each other again 2 weeks from today in San Francisco. Muncie trying to get outside, and this time Mel Phillips crashing through from the secondary with a big play for the 49ers. Straps a 6-yard loss on him at the 38-yard line. Well, Mr. Phillips has been around. You talk about broken bones. I think he's broken his arms as many as any man in the history of pro football. I think he's had like 4 or 5 broken arms.
How about that one year he played with 2 broken arms? Tony Klein was in on that play. He came in on a running situation for Cedric Hardman, but Hardman is now back in his passing situation.
3rd down, 12. Saints at the 38-yard line of the 49ers. A big play in this drive. As Douglas back to throw, the rush is on, and his arm is deflected. Incompleted forward pass. So there's the pressure from the front 4, who've been a little frustrated because the Saints haven't been throwing.
Same 2 actors, number 72, Cleveland Elam, and number 86, Cedric Hardman, putting the pressure on Douglas. Douglas tried to hang in the pocket as best he could, but they just had too much penetration.
All right, Blanchard will try to angle on the way he's faced. Looks like he's going to be aiming for that right coffin corner. Tony Leonard is deep. Blanchard standing on his own 47. 10 men up front for the 49ers. Snap is a little bit high. And he lays it out there for the near side coffin corner and into the end zone for the touchback. Didn't quite make it. So San Francisco will take over at the 20-yard line with 7 minutes and 26 seconds left to play in the third period at the Superdome in New Orleans, where we're tied at 7-all.